North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's a military alliance made up of 32 countries across Europe and North America, and its core mission is simple: collective defense. In other words, if one NATO country gets attacked, all the others treat it like they were attacked too. It was founded in 1949, right after World War II. The world was recovering from chaos, and tensions were rising between the Western powers and the Soviet Union. That tension became the Cold War. The US, Canada, the UK, and several Western European countries joined together to form NATO. And since then, the alliance has expanded and is still one of the biggest power blocks on Earth today. Countries like Finland and Sweden have recently joined the alliance. The Warsaw Pact, officially the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance, was a military alliance of 8 Eastern Bloc socialist states led by the Soviet Union. Like NATO, it was built on the principle of collective defense. If one member was attacked, the others were obliged to come to its aid. It was founded in 1955 in response to West Germany's entry into NATO and the deepening Cold War divide. Its members were the Soviet Union, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary, Poland, and Romania. For over 3 decades, the pact coordinated joint military exercises, stationed Soviet troops in member countries, and served as the Eastern Bloc's counterweight to Western alliances. But as the Soviet Union unraveled and Eastern European regimes collapsed, the Warsaw Pact lost its cohesion, and it was formally dissolved in July 1991, marking the end of an era of bipolar military blocs. The CSTO stands for the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It's a military alliance led by Russia, made up of several post-Soviet states. Like NATO, it's based on the idea of collective defense. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, the former republics scattered, politically, economically, militarily. But in 1992, a group of them signed a pact to stay united in defense. It became the CSTO in 2002. It was Russia's way of keeping some influence in its backyard while offering its allies protection. The European Union is a political and economic union of 27 countries, mostly in Europe, that work together on trade, law, foreign policy, and more. It's not a single country, but it acts like one in a lot of ways. The EU began as a peace project after World War II. In 1951, 6 countries, including France, Germany, and Italy, formed the European Coal and Steel Community to bind their economies together. This evolved into the European Economic Community, and finally, in 1993, it officially became the European Union with the Maastricht Treaty. But what do the EU actually do? Countries can trade freely with no tariffs, and citizens can live, work, or travel freely across member states. Many EU laws apply across all members, and 20 of the 27 countries use the euro as their currency. BRICS is a group of major emerging economies. It's not a military alliance or a trade zone. It's more of a geopolitical club. These are countries with big populations, fast-growing economies, and ambitions to reshape the global order. The term BRICS was actually coined by a Goldman Sachs economist in 2001. He predicted these 4 countries would dominate the world economy by 2050. In 2009, the countries made it official and started meeting annually. South Africa joined in 2010, and in 2024, the group expanded, adding countries like Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. Together, BRICS countries represent over 40% of the world's population, nearly a third of global GDP, and massive natural resources, manufacturing power, and political influence. The Allies were the countries that fought against Nazi Germany, Fascist Italy, and Imperial Japan during World War II. Their mission? Total defeat of the Axis powers and the restoration of peace. It began to take shape in 1939, when Britain and France declared war on Germany after the invasion of Poland. The big 3 leaders of the Allied powers were the United States, led by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, later Harry Truman; the United Kingdom, led by Prime Minister Winston Churchill; and the Soviet Union, led by Joseph Stalin. These powers, despite their deep ideological differences, they united to fight a common enemy. In Europe, they launched the D-Day invasion in 1944 and pushed the Nazis back to Berlin. In the Pacific, they fought brutal island battles until Japan surrendered after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. By 1945, the Allies had won, but the alliance of convenience soon broke down and turned into the Cold War as the US and Soviet Union became global rivals. The Axis powers were the countries that started and fought World War II. This was not an alliance of peace or mutual defense. It was a pact between nations who believed they were destined to dominate. The 3 core members were Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, aiming to conquer Europe and exterminate its enemies. Fascist Italy, led by Benito Mussolini, dreamed of reviving the Roman Empire. Imperial Japan, led by Emperor Hirohito, and militarist leaders like Tojo Hideki, aimed to dominate Asia. At first, they seemed unstoppable, but cracks quickly showed. Germany's invasion of the Soviet Union stretched its army too thin. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, Italy, suffered major defeats in Africa and eventually switched sides in 1943. By 1945, the Allies had pushed back on all fronts. Hitler committed suicide. Mussolini was executed. Japan surrendered after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. OPEC stands for the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. It's not a military or political alliance. It's a global oil cartel. OPEC's main goal is to coordinate oil production and pricing among member countries to keep the oil market stable and profitable for producers. It was founded in 1960 by 5 countries: Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Since then, the group has expanded to include others like the United Arab Emirates, Nigeria, Angola, Algeria, and Libya. OPEC members together control around 80% of the world's known oil reserves and about 30 to 40% of global oil production. In 2016, OPEC teamed up with non-member countries like Russia, forming OPEC+, a broader alliance that now plays a major role in setting oil supply levels globally. When OPEC agrees to cut or boost production, it can send oil prices soaring or crashing, which affects everything from gas prices to global inflation. In short, OPEC is one of the most powerful forces in global energy, not through armies, but by controlling the lifeblood of the modern economy, oil. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into some of the world's major alliances, past and present, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more history and global insights.